1978?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. So that's many years after Watergate.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Yeah. Well, they can't do that anymore. But this whole email thing, the Clinton email thing, that's bizarre. That's a bizarre one.
You know what their problem was?
What?
They did Whitewater, and like the Clintons beat him at Whitewater,
Right.
even though he fucking pardoned people that worked for him who did time.
Right.
They beat Whitewater. And
Explain what Whitewater was, because a lot of people think it's Watergate.
Okay, when you're in government, you're privy to some things about where roads might go, or where electricity might be routed. You just get information.
Yeah.
And if you do that stuff, you could make real estate investments. You can't profit from stuff like that. That would be wrong. But what if your wife was a consultant?
Oh.
That's not exactly how Whitewater went down, but that is how most of the corrupt politicians that you see operate. Their wives have bullshit jobs, and the bribes are funneled in through that in substantial part. And so it could be green lighting something, or it could be, but yeah, it was just a real estate scandal. And it was probably just real estate investments that went bad, and their books probably were not in order, so then they had to keep their mouths shut. They probably weren't really fucking around that much.
What's really fascinating is there's one that's more obvious and more blatant that no one bats an eye on, and that's the Dick Cheney-Halliburton connection.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's not family and it's not marriage, but when you look at the fact that this guy was the CEO of Halliburton, and Halliburton gets these no-bid contracts for billions of dollars.
Yeah. And elected officials are supposed to kind of sequester their assets in trusts, blind trusts, so that they don't really know if they're benefiting their ownership interest in Halliburton or Kellogg Brown or Root. Yeah, no, it's bullshit. Yeah, it's bullshit. You're supposed to just pretend like you don't own it. And if you put it on paper in a blind trust meant to benefit you and your assigns, you technically no longer own it.
But let's just be like the most optimistic possible. Let's say Dick Cheney didn't profit from Halliburton having all these no bid contracts.
Then he's a fool.
But he still hooked up a buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, either way, he used to work there, man. He used to be the CEO.
Yeah. And then he hooked him up with selling $48 cases of soda. $48.
Well, it cost a lot of money to get soda to Iraq, in his defense.
Yeah, it doesn't. It does not.
You got to get it, put it on a plane. Got to hire someone to carry it.
I know. And for that, they could have built a fucking Coca-Cola plant.
Yeah, but you don't want culture appropriation.
You're
go
right.
over there.
Cultural appropriation.
Super bad.
No, that's
go over there with Coca-Cola.
That's colonialism. I think that is. That's technically colonialism.
It's amazing that they pulled that off, and that's not under investigation. But Whitewater, which is a fucked up real estate venture.
Yeah, like $4 million worth of real estate versus, I don't know, $1 trillion.
Not only that, maybe incentive to go to war.
Yeah.
Maybe incentive to do certain actions that caused massive loss of life.
They thought they were going to win and make a nice chunk of change.
Yeah,
and
that's crazy.
Shit spun out of control, and they ended up making a lot of money.
And that's real. Like, what is the movie going to be like that we're going to eventually watch? Like, there's going to be a movie in maybe 10 or 15 years where it shows the madness that was the original Iraq War, and the call to all these people that there was weapons of mass destruction, and people testifying to them and then realizing it was bullshit. Like all the chaos involved, and all the behind the scenes shit. Like, someone's gonna do a badass movie, like a Platoon, Oliver Stone style movie about that war. It's coming, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, they've done The Hurt Locker. They've done Zero Dark 30. They did the Tina Fey one in Afghanistan.
Yeah. Tina Fey.
Yeah.
The comedy?
Yeah.
T1J. So I think Tina Fey is one of the funniest people on the planet. Whether I'm watching one of her sitcoms or even just an interview on a late night talk show, I'm usually either laughing out loud or grinning with delight at how clever she is. And I also think she's an important figure who has played a significant role in increasing the visibility of women in comedy. But as we've learned over and over again, especially recently, even those we admire most are not immune to scrutiny and criticism. So that said, have you ever noticed just how often Tina Fey uses racial humor in her work? It's kind of awkward. So you may have heard about the controversy surrounding The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, a show that Tina Fey co-created. It contains a bizarre plotline about a Native American woman named Jacqueline, played by Jane Krakowski, who abandons her family to live her dream of being an upper-class white woman. Now, I actually think that's kind of a funny premise. Her full name is Jacqueline White, which is hilarious. And the show definitely doesn't attempt to make the audience sympathize with this character, at least at first. Jacqueline is kind of an asshole, and her life is in complete disarray, I guess implying that the life of a high-class white woman isn't always what it's cracked up to be.
White people, am I right?
But it still seems like a very weird story arc to be in a sitcom in 2016 when the first season of Kimmy Schmidt was released on Netflix. And I can understand why some people might have been uncomfortable with it, if not outright offended by it.
We're based on an idea that we imperfectly, a harrowing idea, a harrowing challenge that we imperfectly embody at all times, which is that all men are created equal. And then they have equal access to justice. And as long as that idea does not disappear, as long as our Constitution is not changed from that idea, and of course the non-constitutional inspirational document like the Declaration of Independence, as long as we always keep that, there will be good presidents and there will be bad presidents. There'll be good Congresses and bad Congresses. There'll be good judiciary and bad judiciary. But if we can all agree on that thing, then America will always be the last best hope of mankind.
Now I think
Another bottle of Moet, to you, Antoine. Apparently the world is ending. Well, where is he? Sometimes I'm so goddamn beautiful, it makes me want to throw up. Ugh, I'll get it myself. Dollars of damage to the economy, famines, starvation, terrorism, and war. So it's not just the poor polar bears and coral reefs. There are real human consequences to this. See, this is why you should care. It's not just about the planet, it's about the millions of people who are gonna die or lose their homes. Oh, jeez, wow, that's really just too bad. What kind of response is that? Look, Doc, people die all the time. What am I supposed to do? Cry about it? No, you're supposed to take political action. Yeah, I guess I could do that, but this bath is very relaxing. Well, look, even if you only care about yourself, you do realize that when the coastal cities flood, we're gonna have to take in tens of millions of refugees, right? Are you gonna be okay with that? No. Well, then you'd better do something to reduce carbon emissions. No. Well, then you'd better be ready to take in a lot of refugees. No. You do realize, right, that in 100 years, everyone is going to look back on people like you, and they're going to hate you so much for what you allowed to happen to this planet. Well, those are future people. I am alive now. And besides, if what you're saying is true, then this is basically the apocalypse anyway, so why not just party and enjoy ourselves, right? But